Hey everybody, week 2 update for fundamentals of strength and conditioning. You have the HIIT workout drill open. So if you didn't see, I did post some ideas of different HIIT workouts, which I can show you here in a second under the resources tab. That assignment is due Wednesday, so I'm still missing that from quite a few of you guys. If you have not turned that in, please do so as soon as possible or at least before Wednesday at 11:55 p.m. to get full credit on that assignment. Next week, or as soon as this assignment closes, then on Wednesday at 9 a.m., the next assignment will open, which is a quiz on the ACE Chapter 15 musculoskeletal issues. So really quick, I'll show you where the examples of HIIT workouts are. These are some that I have created. There's one that's the image is smaller for some reason. These are some that I've created in the past. I've given you this one for sure before, but just to kind of get you guys thinking, you do not have to use these. You can do it however you would like. I just had quite a few HIIT workouts, so rather than trying to explain any further, I just posted some that I have created in the past up here. Okay, so these are found under the resource tab. If you are needing some more guidance on what to do there, hop over here, make sure that you get that assignment done before Wednesday at 11:55 p.m. Let's go through the notes really quick, or as much as I can. So we are on this ACE Chapter 15 musculoskeletal issues. We only have 2 more chapters to go in this class. So we are almost there, you guys. Stay with me. All that we'll have left after we get through these 2 chapters are some case studies to be working on. So the musculoskeletal issues chapter, let me see, I have it open here, is going to go through different injuries that are common, especially among athletes and among the general population. So oftentimes people will never work out and then they will start some sort of a regimen and they start going at it too quickly and they have injuries. So it's really common. You guys are all going to be exercise specialists in some sort of a way in your future. So you need to be able to identify those injuries and the implications for exercise and also how to counteract them. So if somebody has a history of iliotibial band syndrome or some sort of knee pain, how do you strengthen that knee? How do you strengthen the quads to help to counteract and try to create some form of a balance? Okay, so that is what this chapter will go through. A lot of you guys are athletes in this class, so I'm sure you've heard of a lot of these injuries. Example, muscle strain. That is probably, you guys have probably all had some form of a muscle strain at some point, either in your athletic career or just from working out in general. So a muscle strain is a microscopic tear of the muscle fibers. It causes swelling, discoloration, and loss of function. Muscle strains are common for a lot of athletes in the hamstring group. So oftentimes we over strengthen our quad, which therefore results in a tight hamstring, and then you're more likely to have some form of a muscle strain on that tight muscle group. Ligament sprains, I just want you guys, I'm not going to take too much time just to go through. Bursitis is really common. It's inflammation of the bursitic sac in the knee. Tendinitis, inflammation, overuse of a tendon or a joint, common in the shoulders, elbows, knees, and ankles. Fasciitis is inflammation of the connective fascia. Commonly occurs in the bottom or the back of the foot. Cartilage damage, common injury, meniscus tear is very common, meniscus injuries. So signs and symptoms would be joint pain, muscle weakness, stiffness, giving way, locking out, clicking, or popping as well. Okay, cartilage damage, you guys can read through these slides. Bone fractures can be low impact or high impact. Healing process, so to heal, there are the different phases that I want you guys to know. First is going to be the inflammatory. So inflammation is going to take place. That is a sign of healing. So it can typically last for up to 6 days. Fibroblastic proliferation phase begins around day 3 and lasts until day 21. Then we have the maturation phase, begins around day 21 and can last for up to 2 years. So we heal for a long time. Healing takes time. Sometimes we never fully heal or recover, but regardless, it's going to take time to heal. Okay, inflammation. So post-injury, pain, redness, swelling, warmth to touch, loss of function. RICE acronym, if you aren't familiar with it, it's rest, ice, compression, and elevate. Acute injuries versus pre-existing injuries. If it's a pre-existing and it's commonly reoccurring, what needs to be done? So how can we modify the program? I'm sure all of you guys have been injured, and if you have been, I'm sure your coaches have modified the programs. I have walked by and seen you guys on biking rather than doing some form of a higher intensity workout. That would be a modified program example. Okay, example, read through these activities and think through them on your own. Rotator cuff injuries are also common in some of those sports that use a lot of the upper body, common in golf, common in baseball, softball. That is damage to your rotator cuff or your shoulder. How to repair, how to strengthen. Elbow tendonitis, also commonly called golfer's elbow. Okay, how to treat carpal tunnel. Those of you guys spending a lot of extra time on your computers even, just do some of those wrist rotations. Try to alleviate some of the tension that has been placed on your wrists with spending a lot of extra time on the computer lately. I'm trying to find here, iliotibial band syndrome. I mentioned this. It's also called IT band syndrome. Overuse of distal position, it rubs against the lateral femoral. So signs and symptoms, gradual onset of tightness, snapping, popping pain of the lateral knee when flexed or extended. It's common in running and cycling. So those are two sports that commonly you will see iliotibial band syndrome take place. You need to stretch it out, slow return to activity, modify exercises as needed. Patellofemoral pain, known as runner's knee. So overuse is most commonly when this develops. If you are training for some sort of a marathon and you aren't following a training regimen, you jump into it too quickly, that often develops runner's knee or patellofemoral pain syndrome. So you want to try to avoid that by gradually increasing your training regimen. Okay, I'm going to go through these pretty quick here. Infrapatellar tendonitis, shin splints. These are really common. It's like a dull aching pain in the front of your lower leg. Common to runners, dancers, military personnel. It's also common if you do something that you aren't used to. For example, if you are just simply walking on a treadmill and you add incline to your regimen, you're probably going to feel some sort of shin splints if you jump into it too quickly. Okay, ankle sprains, common in our jumping type of sports. Achilles tendons, plantar fasciitis. It's a common complaint in the heel. Notice after periods of inactivity, so it's especially worse if you are sitting for a long period of time or right after you get up. It's common from overtraining. Improper footwear is something that you want to look at first. Also, obesity, unyielding surfaces if you're training on uneven grounds. Okay, keeping a record, and that's it. That is all that I'm going to share today. So I know I went through everything pretty quickly. I see my computer's at 1%. So that is all that I have for today. When you're reading through this musculoskeletal issues, please let me know if you have any questions. Reach out to me through texting, phone calls, emailing, whatever works, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Have a good rest of the week, guys.